Hello everyone, welcome to a new Darkshawn biography video. Today I'm going to go ahead and talk about Plato. That's been the most formal I've ever been in my entire life. Let's get to start off. Plato. Darkshawn presents Plato. Dun 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 dun. Someone has even called all of Western, or technically European philosophy as a series of footnotes to Plato. Alright, now let's get started off with his real life. Now, there's not much we know about Plato's life. In fact, the only reason why we know much about Plato's life is not because he wrote a bunch of stuff. It's just because of other philosophers too, as well as the fact that he also wrote a bunch of stuff about himself. However, all the things that he wrote were the dialogues, and they were mainly about Socrates, and thankfully, because of those dialogues, we know about Socrates more than we probably should know about it. But before I go ahead and talk about dialogues and the Republic, those kinds of works, no. Well, we're gonna get that later. We're gonna get to that later. We're right now going to go ahead and talk about the man himself. Now, Plato was born in, of course, Athens, Greece, in 428 or 427 or 424 or 423 BCEs in Athens, Greece, and he was actually born with the real name of Aristocles. He had a few siblings. He even had a half-brother. And his dad was Aristotle. Interesting fact about Aristotle himself. Aristotle of Athens, he himself was a philosopher, and because he was a philosopher, he also could have kind of influenced Plato going into philosophy, in my opinion. However, I don't think he wanted to hit Plato to really do that, because it's not that good of a job. Also, he may be a descendant of two rulers. Maybe. So technically, Plato could actually be the philosopher king he wanted to be. His mother was called Perictione. And she was the descendant of Solon. And Solon was credited for being the first person to go ahead. No, this isn't Solon. And Solon was credited to being the first person to go ahead and actually introduce and lay the foundations of Athenian democracy. And because of all that, you go ahead and do all the things that you want to do. Hey, so guys, I thought about this new idea. It's called democracy. All hail Solon, except now you're not the ruler. Get out now, man. No, that's pretty much how he was born. So technically, Plato was a royal family, but since he didn't actually live like that, he was more of an aristocratic and very influential family too. He literally had like a bunch of siblings. We don't know much about his childhood, but we do know he traveled sometime, and in between he also went ahead and did a little learned a little bit, but we'll get to that soon. First off, sometime in his life, he went ahead and probably visited Sicily, Italy. Remember back then, Italy didn't include all this. Egypt, and Cyrene. Here we go. Cyrene, which is, like, I'm guessing somewhere here. And with that, he goes ahead and does a bunch of crazy things too, should I say. Plato himself goes ahead and had his own little life of his own too. Next thing that he does is actually get taught by Socrates. We don't really know the order of events this happened. He probably visited him after he stopped learning from Socrates, because, well, we'll find out a bit about Socrates' life right now. Socrates himself was born into a humble shoemaking family, and with that, he went ahead and started asking a bunch of questions. The average Athenian had literally two fears: the war with Sparta and talking with Socrates. Now, at least the Spartans were outside of the city gates. At least the Spartans were outside the city walls. But Socrates, for the Athenians, were literally everywhere. He went ahead and started asking, a bunch of questions. You could be strolling anywhere, like you're going into a party, or you're strolling through the shops, vendors, saying, hey, may I have, this one beer, please? And they're like, sure. And you could even be, waiting for your trial. You could be waiting for people to go ahead and start giving you a trial. But just as soon as Socrates went ahead and came towards you, you knew you were in trouble. Either that, or he was just passing by. However, if he went ahead and just heard you even thinking, he would say, excuse me, sir, I have a question. Do you know what good is? How do you know that's good? Why is it good? are you qualified to actually know what good is? Of course, that's like so many questions, and of course, the average Athenians would be pretty hostile towards this guy. He was a pain in the ass. Now, of course, talking and asking a bunch of questions is not illegal by Athenian law, and neither is annoying. However, apparently he is so annoying that his 3 fellow Athenian citizens went ahead and put him on trial, saying, "Will you just not say anything? Please, man, you're being annoying." And it's like, no. Next thing that literally happens is here. Of course, Socrates went ahead. There's no doubt that Socrates himself was actually an outstanding citizen. Anyways, he himself was an outstanding citizen. He served in the Athenian army 3 times, and he also did some military. He also did a lot of service towards Athens. However, I don't think being annoying counts as a service to the Athenians. Anyways, when he died, people were like, "Come on, man, escape. The guards don't care as long as you're outside of Athens." And he's like, "No, justice is justice, and I will die for it." And how we know about him? Why is there no surviving written work by Socrates? Because he never wrote anything. Writing is static, and once you write it, it can't be changed. It can be revised, but the original will still exist. And he drank poison, and which actually went ahead and ended his life. And of course, obviously, paper can't drink poison, so Plato was still willing to write these dialogues while while we're on the topic of dialogues, while he's writing these dialogues, there's a lot that has been happening too. Socrates has been inspired this big bad playboy, this Plato guy a million times over, and within all those times, Plato went ahead and started writing a bunch of these things. In the meantime, he also founded his own school, the academy. Yes, that's literally what to call it. And that's why we call universities and some other kinds of higher education academies. Speaking of which, while we're on the topic, he went ahead and founded this academy. And while he founded this academy, there's so much that literally happened. And I believe this is Socrates over here. With that, Plato went ahead and literally did everything he can to go ahead to keep people in there. He even wrote a sign on them saying, "Let no one enter here who is ignorant of geometry." And with that, he went ahead and founded the school, and he even taught a bunch of the big bad playboys that came after him. Like Aristotle, who is probably the only one who wrote more philosophy than Plato himself. Aristotle, a bunch of dialogues here is actually some sort of the Platonic style, the Athenian style of how we introduce things. Now, back then, philosophy was written in ways where the author was talking at you, but Plato wrote it so that it's like a philosopher play, where he adapted the local Athenians' theatrical play style, all of that with philosophy. And since he combined that together, he went ahead and wrote a bunch of these dialogues. And I'm just gonna name a few here: the Euthyphro, the Apology, the Credo, the Phaedo, which is basically how we know about Socrates' life, because that's pretty much his life. The Metno, the Protagus, the Gorgias, the Symposium, the Phaedrus, the Phamius, the Satius, the Republic, which is the one I'm reading right now. It's about philosopher kings and the perfect utopian society, which also could be a prototype for totalitarianism. The Timaeus and the Laws. By the way, the Law, all of these featured Socrates. And except for the Laws, all of them were actually pretty good. The Laws was also good too, but it didn't include Socrates as the main character. Socrates didn't ask questions. In the early days when Plato was writing these dialogues, Socrates was the one asking all these questions. But then, in the middle days, Socrates was the one who started creating these ideas too. Instead of being the annoying person, he went ahead and started giving out his own ideas. And with that, he basically died. Plato, it's kind of debatable how Plato died himself. He was buried in the garden at his academy. Some people say that he died in bed. Others say that he died at the wedding feast. Some say he just died in sleep, which I would say is the same thing as death in his bed. There's no dispute of when he died, so he died sometime in 348 BC at the age of 75 to 8 years old. Remember, we don't know his birthday. And that's it. That's the life of Socrates and Plato. Well, this video may be called the life of Plato, but I think I included the life of Socrates as well. And if you guys really did enjoy this episode, I really hope you guys did. And please help like this video, and see you in the Republic videos. Bye!